everyone's go-to source for all NFL news.
Adam Schefter teased some big breaking news. Adam, you've told us about it. What do we got?
Adam's on the phone.
Adam, some more,
you got more news? What do you got?
They're going with another move.
And he was the man who knows all, Adam Schefter.
And we're going to get right to some breaking news here that just came down. This tweet from Adam Schefter.
It's ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter.
They still have a lot of good young players, so I don't think of them as I just don't think of them that way.
Adam Schefter on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy is presented by Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference. Also sponsored by Island Resort and Casino.
We love our time with Adam Schefter here on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. Good morning, Adam. How's your week going?
Good morning, Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. How are we doing?
Wait, hold on. Are you a baseball fan?
I was a huge baseball fan growing up, and I've just lost interest in it over time because of the demands of the jobs.
Yeah, that makes sense. You got to put all your bandwidth towards what's happening in the NFL, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So, let's say I couldn't even tell you who's playing in the baseball playoffs. No idea.
Well, today the Brewers are. Tomorrow, maybe not. They're facing elimination today against the Diamondbacks, but I digress. I'm concerned about Jimmy Garoppolo. What are you hearing about him? Do you think that he will be out there on the field when the Packers take on the Raiders on Monday?
What makes you concerned about him right now?
He's in the concussion protocol, right?
Yeah.
I see what's happening here, Maui.
No. The median time in the protocol this season has been 9 days. There hasn't been a player who suffered a concussion 1 week and was able to play the very next week all season. In fact, the last time that a player who suffered a concussion on a Sunday was able to play the next week was Kenny Pickett last year, week 5. So basically, any player who gets concussed is going to miss the next week. He's going to miss the next week. And then usually, not always, but usually he's back the next week. Garoppolo didn't make the trip to L.A. He's still in protocol, but I think he'll be back Monday night.
Adam, after watching the Detroit-Green Bay game, did you come away thinking Detroit is better than you thought? Because I did. I thought they were better than I thought they were.
Yes. In fact, look, I think I've said to you guys that I expected the Packers to have a better season than people expected, and I had questions about the Lions. I got to say, those questions were invalid. That team is really good. Team is really better than I thought it would be. And when you win in Green Bay that night, to me, you take a huge stranglehold for that division. Like, it's hard for me to imagine them not winning that division now. Chicago's not winning it. I don't think Minnesota's going to win it. And Green Bay had its chance to beat the Lions at home. That doesn't mean the Packers can't go win the division. Of course they can. But I think even 4 games into the season, I now would be surprised if the Lions didn't win that division. That's what I'm saying.
Can they win the Super Bowl? Or is it too early to tell?
Yeah. No, I think they're good enough to win the Super Bowl. I do. Yeah.
Okay.
And in fact, everybody's talked about in the NFC, the Niners, the Eagles, the Cowboys being the class of that conference. I think the Lions are just about right there with them. I really do. I think they belong in that conversation.
How good is Max Crosby? Because I think here in Wisconsin, we're more familiar with Aiden Hutchinson, and he was a game wrecker against the Packers. But with Max being in the AFC, the Packers don't see him all that often. But he's just as good as what we saw from Aiden Hutchinson, correct?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, he's been a great player for a while now. And if Aiden Hutchinson terrorized Green Bay's offensive line the way that he did last Thursday night, Max Crosby would figure to be in for a big night that night. He is a one-man wrecking crew. And yes, they did lose Chandler Jones, and everybody hopes he's okay. But Max Crosby, he's on the short list of the best defensive players, not defensive line, best defensive players in all of football. On the short list to me.
Do you think we're kind of in a golden era of that pass rusher? I mean, you look up and down. I mean, they're just between T.J. Watt, Khalil Mack, both of the Boses, Myles Garrett. I mean, we were, Micah Parsons. We were just talking about Max Crosby and Aiden Hutchinson and Rashawn Gary here in Green Bay. It just seems like there are just a plethora of really good pass rushers across the league.
Well, what's interesting is, Golden. There are some really good ones. The teams are throwing the football more than ever, and they're giving these guys more opportunities. But these guys are responding and doing exactly what they should, and they are performing and shining. I think there's always been great defensive ends, honestly. Like, I can remember when I was first covering the league, and Bruce Smith and Ray Childress and some of the great Derek Thomas, Neil Smith, there were some great linemen. So I just think it's a continuation of what we've always seen, with an emphasis on throwing the football. And if teams are throwing the football as much as they are, then clearly it gives these guys a chance to stand out, which they have.
All right, go ahead and get a glass of water. We don't want a repeat incident of what happened last
year. Jen, there's a great. You want to laugh? I may have said this to you, but just Google Adam Schefter coughing fit. One of my very first hits on ESPN. I was on with Sage Steele, and she asked me a question. I had something caught in my throat and could not finish the hit, and it became the out track, something they played on the Howard Stern show regularly, with Adam Schefter having a coughing fit that will make you laugh. And I promise you can't watch it and not laugh. Adam Schefter coughing fit. Google it. It's very embarrassing, but I can handle it 14 years later and let you know you'll enjoy watching it.
Sounds like you can handle it, Adam. It does, let me tell you. Let me ask you this. Here in Wisconsin, there was a portion of the Packers fan base that really, really, really wanted the Packers to go out and get Chase Claypool. And that looks like it has really blown up in the Chicago Bears' face. What's the deal there? What is the scoop? What's the behind-the-scenes information on Chase Claypool? Does he just not want to play football anymore or what?
No, he wants to play, and he's going to play. He's just not going to play in Chicago anymore. His time in Chicago is coming to an end, and I don't think he'll ever play for that team again. That would be an upset right now. So the only question becomes is, can they trade him and get back basically a ham sandwich for a guy that they gave up the first pick in the second round for, or do they have to just release him? And look, the fact that they kept him home this week, it gives them a week to figure it out. But if he ever were to come back in that building again to play for it would be a surprise. And I think what's happened is he's come in there, and I think the guy still is competitive. He wants to win. It didn't work. And I think the last straw came when he came in last week, and the reporters asked him if the team were handling him right and using him the right way. He said no. You got to be smarter than that. You can't answer the question that way. You got to kind of pass it off just diplomatically, and he didn't do it. And the place has got enough issues. They don't need one more self-imposed. And so I just think that was the final straw. I'm sure there are I guarantee there are other things, late, missed meetings, whatever it may be. And finally, they just said they had enough, and that was a trade that I'm sure they wish they could have back.
But if you're a team and you might be in the wide receiver market, how do you know that the same thing isn't going to happen? How do you know that he's not going to be a malcontent? And I'm not saying he is in Chicago, but look, you obviously know. The dude came on the scene, and it was like, whoa, this guy is going to have a hell of a career. He could be elite at the position. And then not so much. It never really materialized after that. So how do you know you're getting a good deal if you go after Claypool?
It's really simple, Jen, because the acquiring team, if even anybody trades for the guy, is going to give up a conditional 6th or 7th round pick. It's going to be nothing. And it'll be set up so that if the guy doesn't play or the guy messes up, then there's a chance that pick wouldn't even go to Chicago. So the team that acquires him, as one will, is going to give up basically nothing and be protected, so that if the guy does screw up there, they can just cut him, and it doesn't mean anything.
Adam, I want to talk to you a little bit about analytics, and it kind of stems. Yeah. It kind of stems from the Green Bay Detroit game where LaFleur goes for 2 in the middle of the game, which I thought was absolutely crazy. Now it worked out in their favor, but I couldn't believe they did this. And what I want to ask you is, are there restrictions on analytics, or can a team have an IT group in a box plugging in situations in the middle of a game, say it's 3rd and 6 formation, the two corners are hurt and they're out, and the computer spits out there's a X% that this team is that you should run this play. Because I know they do it in baseball. I have my son has a friend who works for the Mets in analytics, and they're active during the middle of a game. Do you think the NFL has to put restrictions on this so the computers aren't calling the plays and it still remains with the coaches? Because I see it just heading down a path that I don't think we want to go down when it comes to sports.
Well, you know what's interesting is that I think one of the great untold secrets is that head coaches have like a sort of guiding assistant, an analytics assistant, if you will, not to mention a group that is in the box crunching the data and the information. Now, I'm going to guess it does go on during the course of the game. I don't think you could figure all this out and prep for it during the week to know, okay, well, on a 4th and 1, we're going for it or whatever it is. It's just not that simple, I don't think. But I think one of the great secrets in the NFL is that even the best coaches, the Andy Reids, the John Harbaughs, the Bill Belichick, they all lean on somebody during the game. And so, okay, Bill Belichick for years had Ernie Adams, right? Like everybody, like, what does Ernie Adams do? Well, he's kind of helping figure out things. And, John Harbaugh's got a group, and Andy Reid's got a group. And most every head coach now has a group of people that he leans on for decisions. Now, I don't know exactly how they do it during the game. I've never been in a booth. I've never been around a group of analytics people to see how they decipher and process information during the course of a game. But I know that in these various situations, there can be and often will be somebody in the coach's ear saying, hey, the right call is to go for this. The right call is go for 2. Punt. Do this. Do that. And they get another voice. Now, ultimately, I think the head coach is going to make a call based on his gut, based on his instincts, based on his experience, based on his trust in his group, based on the group's track record, based on everything. Just like every single one of us is faced with decisions every day in our life, and ultimately we decide, yes, we're going to do this. We're going to do it this way. We're going to go because it feels right. But yes, there are people that give them information to help them process that decision.
But do you think, Adam, this is good for the game with AI getting better and better and better? We're going to have computer going against computer, and I just don't think it's a good thing.
Listen, they're getting computer data, but ultimately, like I said, it still comes back to the coach. It's like, I don't know. I don't get too worked up about this. Like, people getting all worked up about the tush push, the brotherly shove. Okay, well, the Eagles do it well. The Giants didn't do it well Monday night. That's the way it goes, right? Like, it's part of like, okay, for years the Dallas Cowboys are using different analytic data than other teams, so should they ban that from the draft? Like, I don't have a problem with it. Like, everybody in the league is looking for whatever advantage it could get, whether it's in-game, out-of-game, draft, free agency, whatever it may be, right? Like, there have been teams that have hired people from the league office, from the NFL's management staff, because they want to have the insight into NFL contracts. Like, everybody is looking for an edge everywhere, because those little edges sometimes decide the difference between a win or a loss, and a win or a loss can decide the difference between going or not going to the playoffs, and going to the playoffs or not going to the playoffs can decide who keeps their jobs and who doesn't keep their jobs. So everything in the league is hyper important, as it should be. So I don't have a problem with, like, ultimately the coach still has to make the decision, but he's getting the ideas and the input from his guy or his group or whatever it may be that helps influence that decision, but not make it.
Adam, you said tush push very smoothly and casually there.
Mm-hmm.
And the brotherly shove.
Yeah, we of course laughed because we're very immature. How many times does it take to say tush push out loud before you start giggling? Or is your maturity level just that much better and we have no hope?
But let's give it a shot. Tush push, tush push, tush push, tush push, tush push. It took Jen there 4 or 5 tush pushes, right? I'm still going strong here because I'm a journalist and a reporter, a big J. I'm trying to get this all out here.
Tush push, tush push, tush push, tush push, tush push.
Took me 2 times there for Jen.
I think we should trademark it. Let's beat everyone to the punch.
I feel like that's probably already been done. It's like Deion Sanders out there just trademarking everything he says. He says something, trademark. Hey, Adam, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Obviously, big game for the Green Bay Packers as they hope to get back in the win column against Devontae Adams and potentially, sounds like, Jimmy Garoppolo Monday night in Las Vegas. We'll talk to you soon, Adam.
Jen, Gabe, Chewy, good luck to the Brewers today.
Tush push.
Tush push.
Tush push.
Push the tush. Push the tush.
Adam Schefter is presented by Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin.